All right, I believe today I'm going to be able to finish this. We left off last time with this adding a new field. You may or may not remember it, but the idea is we wanted to be able to come in and open up the NuGet Package Manager console. All right, and I showed you how to do that by going to Tools, NuGet Package Manager Console. We went in and we enabled the migration, and that created the configuration file for us. All right, we went into the seed method and we added this new data. In other words, we had removed the database, so we're putting it back in again, for lack of better words. All right, that all worked okay. We updated the database. That all worked okay. All right. When you look on here, we had what? 4 pieces of information: a title, a release date, a genre, and a price. Everything was fine. But then we said we wanted to come in, we wanted to add another field. All right. So we wanted to add a rating. Okay, so the idea was we went back in and we changed our first record to add that rating. Then we had to go back in and we had to do another migration, and that's where things started to fall apart. What I ended up doing was building, removing about 5 or 6 times. But I finally got it to the point, I haven't run it to make sure, but I updated the database and I did my migration. I got all sorts of errors when I tried to do this. All right. I do believe, I could be wrong, but I do believe that now it is working. So if I go back to Views Movies and I go back to Edit and I view this in the browser, ideally it's going to show me the data that I added, and it's not going to show me any kind of an error message. If it shows me an error, something went wrong. All right, there we go. So we've got that in there. Now the problem is, looking at this, I don't have a rating. Okay, so I've got to go back into here and I've got to find where they did that rating, which was right here. All right. So hover over it. We did that. We did this. We did this. Coding the use first. We did that. All right. Performs an upsert. We don't have a rating in there right now. I did all that. Did that. Okay, I guess that is right where we are. The genre, so I think we're ready. There we are. On page 94 here, ready to add a rating property to the movie model. Okay, so start by adding a new rating property to the existing movie class. Open up the movie.cs models and add a rating property that looks like this. So at the bottom, we're adding this rating property. So I want to come in here. Let's go to movies.cs under my models. All right, you saw all this stuff, but I want to come in here and add this. So this is what's been added. Okay, we just added the ability to put a rating onto our movie. All right, then it says we're supposed to build the application. Again, to build the application, there's different ways you can do it. One is Control-Shift-B, and that'll automatically perform a build. It literally takes a matter of seconds. All right. It says because you added a new field to the movie class, you also need to update the binding whitelist. Okay? If you would, please take a look up on the screen right now and look at this line that's in blue. When they talk about this binding list, what they mean is it's our link between the code that we wrote and the actual database. So what we're saying is the code we wrote originally, we had an ID, a title, a release date, a genre, and a price. And when we built the database from that, that's what it had. Now we're adding a rating. So it's important that we go back in there, all right, and we have to add this. So it says because you're going to add this to the movie class, you also need to update that binding whitelist. So I'm going to copy that. And I got to remember where it is. There it is. Okay, so what I've added is this rating right here. It says you also need to update the view templates because we want to be able to display the rating. All right, so we want to open up our movies index.cshtml and we have to add a rating in there for it. That's adding a heading, all right, which is what we want. We want a heading that's going to say rating, okay? Then we have to actually go in here and where we actually have the actual data, we have to put that in also. So we have to add this. All right, probably a good time to go in after doing that and do a file, save all. All right. Then we have to open up the create and do the same kind of thing. We have to add a rating field. So I'm going to do that. Says you have now updated the application to support the new rating property. Run the application and go to the movies URL. When you do this, we should see an error. Never a good thing, but that's fine. So, file, save all, run this, and it says we want to go to the movies URL. So we'll go right to index on movies and view it in the browser. Remember, it said we should get an error. All right, it says invalid column name rating. Well, I don't think that's the one we should get, but that's fine. When I ran it last time, this was the error I got. Rating, that should be okay. This was the code I added right here, and it's reacting as though there's something wrong with what I added. I don't see any errors here. And of course, I didn't see any errors here either. Rating, item rating, should be correct. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm going to go on, and as before, I'll see if I can figure out what the error is. All right. So they say you've got an error, and there's different ways that you can try to fix the error. And they go through 3 of them. A little bit complex, so I'm not even going to run through it with you. But there's 3 ways when you get database errors you can try to fix the error. In fact, I'll just say this. The first one, it says drop the database and recreate it. All right. Second, modify the database schema. Third, use code first migrations. All right. We're going to try that one. So they tell us to go in here and update the seed method. So we want to open up our migration file and add this. So right now, when we take a look in here at this seed method, and this could be why it's failing, all right, we don't have a thing in here that says rating equals. So we're going to put that into each one of these. Okay. All right. So I made the changes. They want us to build or rebuild the solution again. So I've got to come in here and do a Control-Shift-B to rebuild the solution. That should be done. Then we want to come into our package manager and add a new migration for the rating. Tools, package manager console. Add migration rating. It's yellow. I told you yesterday, yellow's good. When this command finishes, Visual Studio opens the class file that defines the new migration class. What it's saying is it should have added this. All right. We want to build the solution again and then enter update database in the console window. So we want to go back one more time to here, Control-Shift-B to build it again, and then try to come in and do an update database. It says it ran the seed method. All right, it looks at least as though it worked. All right. Says now if we go back and rerun it, hopefully what we're going to find is we now have a rating field in here. I'm hoping I don't get an error when we try to run it again. Okay, there's our new field. Now, you know what? It may not sound like a big thing. We just went in and we added a new field to a database without opening up the database. That's a pretty big thing. So we can go in here. I made all the movies PG. We could change any of them if we wanted to do so. You know what? Leaving them PG is just fine. All right. It says click the Create New link, and notice that we can now go in and add, or there will be a rating in there. All right. Let's see if that's true. So click Create New. There's rating. All right. Oops. Put in a different rating. There it is. All right. It says now that the project is using migrations, we're not going to need to drop the database when we add a new field. All right. It says you should also add a new rating field to the Edit, Details, and Delete view templates. It says you could enter Update Database in the package manager again, and no migration code would run because the schema matches the model. However, running update database will run the seed method again. We don't want to do that. All right. It says in this section what we saw was how to model objects and keep the database in sync. All right. So the big thing now, we're going to move on into adding validation. Anybody ever heard of this term before? Dry. We probably have talked about that in class before. The idea is do not repeat yourself. I mean, for example, writing a function or writing a method is an example of dry. If you're going to be calling the same routine over and over and over again, rather than writing that routine multiple times, you write it once and you call it on an as-needed basis. And it's the same kind of an idea in here. So they want us to come in and start adding some validation logic. All right. Please look up on the screen here to see what they're adding. They're saying that right now the maximum length for a title will be 60, the minimum length will be 3. When we come in here, it's basically saying that for the genre, okay, it's got to be just letters. For the price has got to be between $1 and $100. For the rating, it can be up to 5 characters, and it's just all digits. All right? So what we're doing is we're taking what was in there and we're adding to it. So in other words, we're putting even more requirements on here that you've got to meet this, etc. All right, so let me go back then. Should be able to close this for now. Into our movies model, all right, which looked like this. Again, earlier we were doing nothing special with genre, price, rating, etc. All right, so we're going to come in here. Let me double check this. Okay, starting with public class movie. I'm just going to grab this. All right, looks pretty ugly right now. As I told you, I like to separate this thing out. You don't have to do that, but it does make it a lot easier to read when you do that. So hopefully what you can see in here is, all right, I have set the string length for the title. I have changed the name for the release date and made it a date field. I have said that the genre must be all letters. All right. I have said that the price must be between $1 and $100 and it's of type currency. And I have said that the rating field must be all letters. Okay. And let's see if we're going to add anything else onto that. Again, if you don't like my explanation, okay. Here's the reason that we have to do that. If you look up on the screen, notice that title, genre, and rating all have max in there. That's not what you want. You want to give them, all right, some kind of a value where the title was 60, the genre, I don't remember what it was, but the rating was 5. All right. So it says in the image above, you can see the string fields were set that way. Build the solution, then go back to the package manager, do another add migration, do another update database. All right. This is what I want to show you. If you'd all please take a look up here for a second. All right. We want to come in and we want to change the database. We literally want to change the database. So I want to click on here. I don't know if it's going to show me all files. All right. And refresh. So here's the new database right here. It's called Movies 2. This is what I want you to see though. Notice what's in here. Show the table definition. To get this to work, just so you know, if you have been following along, I had to go into the web.config file and play with it to get it to work. And it took about an hour to try to do things to make it work. But you'll notice max, max, max. We don't want those. We could go in and change them right here. That's not the recommended way with what we're doing. So we're going to add these two commands instead. So I'm going to come into my code again. Close that. Come back to here. Again, do a Control-Shift-B to build. Okay, it should be built now. Bring up the package manager again from Tools, NuGet Package Manager Console. Paste in this add migration data annotations. It's yellow. Good, that means it worked. Go back again and put in our update database command. That worked also. All right. It says when the command finishes, you'll see a bunch of stuff. This is the key thing. This is what we have to check now. So I have to go back in again to my movies database. I'm first going to right mouse click on it and choose refresh. Then I'm going to bring up movies again, and I'm going to bring up open table definition. And please look up here. Notice that the first max was changed to 60, the second one to 30, the third one to 5. So again, we were able to go in and change the database, but we changed the database through code as opposed to physically going in and changing the database. All right? And you might think to yourself, that's fine and dandy, who cares? Well, what you're going to find is sometimes you're going to have database people who know nothing about coding. Sometimes you're going to have coders who know nothing about databases. All right? So you can see that there's two different ways that you can change things. You can go into the database and change them, or you can change them through the code. The idea behind this one was that we're doing it through the code. They want us then to come in here and do this. Do another create for the movies. So run it again and put garbage in all over the place. All right, so we'll do that. So I'm going to put in for the title, I'll just put in a single letter. Notice the field. There you go. The release date, I'm just going to leave it alone. The genre, again, I'll put in, okay. The price, I'll put in something that's out of range. The rating, I'll put in something that's too big. And you'll notice all the errors that I get. All right? It's going to be very important next semester that you know how to do this validation, just so you're aware of that. They go in here and they again talk about that you can come in and localize this, so set it up for different countries. I'm not doing any of that stuff. All right. We're just about finished. Again, as it says here, examining the details and delete methods. These are the last 5 pages of this handout. In this part of the tutorial, you'll examine the automatically generated details and delete methods. So it says, go to the movie controller and examine the details method. So go to the movies controller and look at the delete method. Smaller. I don't need that anymore. And there's the delete method from the get side. You already saw that. Here's the code. It's not really very much code. All right. It's telling if you can find it, remove it, and update the database. So find it, remove it, update the database. That's it. And it's a delete confirmed, all right, that's going to end up being called from here. All right. And I think that is just about it. All right. So there's one more thing I want to say. Yeah, we're done early today. But I want you to see this, and that is, again, and I'm not going to, hold on a second. Again, this is the book we'll use. but I want you to see this. Chapters 1 through 6 teach you some of the generalities and some of the specifics of working with ASP.NET and of working with model view controllers. All right? Yes, we will cover every one of those chapters. And for most of those chapters, they've got kind of a practice program that you'll build. All right? Then when we get into Chapter 7, notice how it changes. Everything here that says Sports Core, this is actually building, all right, a real ASP.NET app. Now you can go over to GitHub. I sent you an email, I think it was yesterday, with a link to GitHub that has all the code on it. That's the good news. The bad news is when I tried running it, it didn't work. When I ran it just for Chapter 2, the code didn't work. All right? So we're going to end up redoing a lot of this as a class, just so you know. So we'll go through those first 12 chapters. Then we'll go through deployment. And again, ideally, we're going to be able to take this and put it out on Microsoft Azure. All right? I think I said this to you before, but on the off chance I did not. If you are planning on doing that next semester, all right, you have to sign up for a Microsoft account. So we already have one of those. Might be a different one than the one you have. And to sign up for an Azure account, they need some kind of a credit card from you. All right? Well, I don't have one. Well, then you either get one or you don't do it. Now, it doesn't cost anything to sign up. Nothing. But they give you a limited amount of resources that you can use with this. And if you go over that, then they will start to charge you. That should not be an issue for what we're going to do. All right? Okay, then we'll go in and notice what they do in the later chapters. Overview of MVC projects, URL routing, advanced routing features, controllers and actions, filters, and then a bunch more. So they explain some of this stuff in general. They give you a project. Then they kind of explain what the project was all about. Does that make sense to people? Again, I don't know if how many chapters we'll have time to go over. My hope is this summer, I will be able to do some tapes on this stuff. I will rebuild a lot of this stuff that currently doesn't work. All right? And I will give you copies of whatever I get done, and I will tape whatever I do this summer. All right? I'll send you a URL of where that is. If you say, fine, I don't give a darn, I'll just come in here and start in fall, then you'll do that. All I'm going to ask you, I don't know when we start in fall. I have no idea when it is. My guess is, let's see. My guess is it's either going to be the 19th or the 26th. Okay? I don't know which one. I'm going to guess the 26th. I'm going to expect from everybody who is in this class, or the AWD 1111, the ASP.NET class, which is formerly called .NET Framework with Web Databases, I'm expecting by fall you will have uninstalled Visual Studio 2017. You will have installed Visual Studio 2019. I'm going to make a tape on doing that and showing you everything you need. You can watch the tape or you can do it yourselves. If you're in doubt when you install 2019, do I need this or don't need it? Then install it, even if you don't use it. I know some of you have been bit with that already. You didn't install the ASP.NET part. Well, here's a hint. You're definitely going to need that. All right? So we'll go through that. But the way this class will work is we're going to do just a boatload of hands-on stuff. Every single chapter that we go over will have you coding. Okay? If you have, however you do that is up to you. Again, the way this will be set up, I'm just telling you right now, virtually every chapter we go over, before we go over the chapter, I'm probably going to write a test. and it's going to be a written test. I already have the one done for the first chapter, okay? And it's only got 2 questions on it. But each one of these is going to be due 1 week after, okay, so if I were to assign it today, which is May 2nd, it would be due at the end of class on May 9th. Can I have head shakes? Does everybody get that? And it's not going to be like it is this semester, okay? At the end of the day, I'm going to check. If I don't have it from you, you get a 0. Because you're getting a week, and the stuff is right in the book. I don't see where that should be any problem for anybody. So that'll be one part of the class. The next part of the class, we're going to go over as many of the chapters in here as we can. I'm supposed to meet with Mr. Smith sometime in the next couple weeks to find out how many chapters he plans on going over. But even if he says, well, Jeff, I'm going over all 27, then good for him. Are we going to? Probably not. I'd rather, if we go over half the book or 2/3 of the book and you get what we're doing, that's more important to me than us going through the whole book and you saying, I don't have a flaming clue as to anything we did. Then it's just a waste of my time and a waste of your time. All right? You will build the sports score project that is in here. You will build another project, like I said, probably the sales orders example database. All right? Plus there will be tests. Okay? So you will literally be taking and having hands-on tests. How many? I don't know. How often? I don't know. All right? So, to my knowledge, the project that we just created, this one right here, all right, works. So I'm going to put it on a flash drive along with a couple other things. If you want it, take it. If you don't, just pass the flash drive on to the next person. All right? So you now have the rest of the period today, all period tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week to finish up any work you're going to give me. Again, everything, to my knowledge, everything is now up to date. I've got everything ready. All right? And again, you've already heard this. The electronic portfolio is due when you leave class. I'm going to grade them that afternoon. Start them that afternoon. All right? My other class, they're doing presentations, but there's only 5 of them, so that should take about an hour. All right? So I will have time to look at everybody's. You don't get it done, you get 0 out of 150. It's not a threat. I'm just stating fact to you. I don't want it where somebody emails me the next day and says, hey, I got it done now. Tough. Because I have to have my stuff done and my stuff in too. All right, so you've had plenty of notice. All right, you've got virtually what? You've got 3 class periods, 4 class periods, 4.5 class periods. All right, you've got almost 20 hours to work on this. And it should be pretty darn good after all that. Any questions on anything? All right, then that's it as far as I know, unless I have to talk to you. That'll be it for lectures and everything for the rest of the semester.